So, let's learn to code with the JavaScript version of processing that's called p5js, Processing 5 JavaScript. Here we've got some things for you to go and look at first. Here's a collection of various processing projects that give you the sorts of ideas of things that people make with it. So go and explore those. Many of these will be made with processing, the old version, the Java version, and I will use those terms processing and p5js interchangeably. The open processing site is fabulous because it's not just a gallery of people's work, which if we look at the what are called sketches. So we can actually have a look at these, the pixel wormhole that somebody's done. And if we're interested in how this was made, we can look at the source code. And we can see here, because it's using the word function rather than void, this is a p5js code that we could copy and paste into our code. Or we could just edit it here and to create a fork and make our own version. See here, some other people have made versions already. So here's a version. Here's a really nice, strange, blurry animation that somebody's figured out how to do. And I can look at this code here, and here it's using functions. So I can see that it's p5js, and you can see there's a few differences between processing and p5js. Instead of using the size command, you use the create canvas command. But most of the other commands are identical: color mode, angle mode, stroke, no stroke. And to define a variable, the old JavaScript itself too is going through changes. It used to be var, like that, and both will work, or let. The more modern version of JavaScript uses let and const, but we'll come to that. And here's a wonderful video of Lauren, who made p5js, demonstrating live how to create a painting application. I thought it's a great video, this.
0, 0. I'll make sure this one's at 0, 0.
And you can see that in a few
okay, that's cool. But
in a few lines of code, she not only creates a audio, if you like, visual tool. She makes something that allows you to paint with your nose by using another JavaScript library in combination with p5js. So recommend that you watch that and go explore these. So the tool that I tend to use most often, you can just use a text editor, but there's an online version. So if we go to the editor, you can see it's very similar to processing, if you've done that session. So here we could create canvas defines this region over here. So I can make it a little bigger. Let's say 700 by 500. And if we wanted to, I want to have a background that's a nicer colour than that because that is using. There are three ways to define colours. RGB values, which are between 0 and 255. So if you like, that would be black. And we can run this and see if that's the case. Oh yeah. And 255 would be white. There we go. See just there. But we can also define it as RGB, as three numbers. So we might say, yes, I want lots of red, and I want a little bit of green. I'm not sure what I'm going to get here, and a little bit of blue. So I get a sort of salmon colour. Who thought? Who knew? But I can also use here as well the what's called the Hex Color number, which is used in HTML. So if we search for hex colors, and we wanted to say, I want, let's see if I can get a kind of, how do I make a yellow? Let's get no red and there's probably better ways to do this. In fact, there is. Let's go find another hex color list, maybe hex color codes. Here we go. So I want a yellow, and the hex color code is there. So I can use in quotes that hex color with the hashtag at the beginning. There, so I've got my yellow. So if I wanted to draw a red circle on that, I would be able to use a command called fill. And I can also use the HTML color names, red. So nothing's happening yet, of course, but ellipse. And where do we want the X and Y to be of this? So if our screen starts at the top at 0, 0 and ends at 700, 500 as it comes down, and we want to put it near the top, let's put it a bit more, 100, 100, and have it 30 wide, 30 high. See, we've now drawn a red dot there. So now what if we wanted, well, I can see here it's got a black outline around it, so I might want to turn that off. So I could actually use, there's lots of commands built in. No stroke turns off the, and stroke turns it back on it. So you can see here, make that a little bit bigger so you'll be able to see 100, 100. Oop. There we go. So you can see it's now not got that black line around it. So if we wanted to use media in here, because this is actually on a website, we need to use this little tool here. And quite often people create a folder here, but we don't have to. We could upload a file. And I've got a, on my desktop, I've got a cow. You'd think it'd be there, wouldn't you? Was it there before? Where's my cow gone? And that then appears here. I've also got a sound file. moo.wav. And we can use WAVs or MP3s. So they're now loaded into my project. So there is another function worth knowing around about, and that's called preload. Now, things that happen in setup happen at the beginning, but preload happens before that. So we can go function preload. This is where everybody most frequently loads data so that it's all there and ready to use by the time you get to here. So we need a variable to store our cow image in. Let's call it cow. And we can use the old-fashioned var for variable, or we could use let. So now we need to load that image. So we can say cow equals load image cow.png. There we go. You see there's a little loading thing there. So now if we wanted to use this image instead of, or let's say on top of the eclipse, or there. So if it wants to be on top, we need to put it below so that it draws on top. And the command for drawing images is image. And we give it the cow data there. And we need an X value. So let's say 100, 100. And we can define the width and height if we want, or we can just leave it at what it is. So you can see here. Now, this is drawing here because of the way that the defaults are set in processing. And we can say, well, actually, I want the image mode to be center, and I think that will change it to be there. So it sort of changes where it's drawn from. So let's move that across a bit, and down a bit, and across a bit, and down a bit. Yeah. So now if we wanted to play our sound, well, first we need to load our sound, and it looks very similar. So I'm going to call this moo, and moo equals load sound moo.wav, and let's have it on a mouse press. So we need to have something to handle mouse pressed. And we can say moo.play. So when we click this now, in fact when we click anywhere, because this is a general function, that will play. So there, we've created a very simple project where we're using media, and in the next session we'll look at extending this and doing more things with it.